meditation. You know, it's a very special day today. It's the day that Rudi was born, uh, came into the world. He had a very special mission to do in this world. And, look, I mean, what it comes down to is that each and every one of us are born. We come into the world, we come into a world that's full of a lot of tension, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of problems, and people still come in. And the soul, is born. It comes, it takes up residence in these bodies of ours while we're infants, and then we mature and grow, and the soul is here to learn lessons. It's here to evolve and get closer to God, to get closer to spiritual enlightenment. And it evolves according to the consciousness of each and every human being. Do we work on ourselves? Do we use the tools we're born with to continue to develop a spiritual life, to nurture the soul, and to build a system inside that's strong enough, so that the soul can truly navigate, all the tension and all the positive and negative energies of the world. I mean, we all come here for that. And, Rudi's birthday, of course, it's a very special day, but so is the birthday of each and every person that's here. I mean, we all come to the earth to do the exact same thing that Rudi did, which is to evolve and grow and attain a state of samadhi, a state of oneness with higher energy in the universe. And there's physical birth, and then there's spiritual birth, and that birth takes place inside each and every human being. I learned that from Rudi. I sat with Rudi for many years. I worked with him. I couldn't do anything but meditate when I was around him. His energy was so powerful. But I watched the way he worked on himself. And as I told you many times, I never met a more creative person. I never met a person who had more. I mean, the energy was extraordinary, and it was all in service of a higher force in the universe. At the same time, he was more than capable of working out his karma and living his life every day in the world. It was an extraordinary being. It's something to emanate. It's something to certainly understand that we're all capable of doing stuff like that, different than Rudi. I certainly haven't lived my life the way Rudi lived his life. But through his teachings and through this incredibly profound transmission of Shakti, I learned why I was here, the purpose of my visit to the earth, and what I was here to learn and what I was here to do to grow every day of my life and build a system inside that was strong enough to connect with energy that's infinite in the universe. I saw Rudi do this. I saw him do it from the day I met him. I mean, the day I met him was probably one of the most extraordinary days of my life. It was totally unexpected. It was totally something beyond anything I could have ever conjured up in my brain. It was predestined. It was meant to be. To walk into his gallery, and being attracted to this person like he was a magnet that drew me right to him. And I found out why after I began to study with him, and he began to show me how much work I needed to do on myself and how deep I needed to go in myself and what my responsibility was to God to do that work, to do that inner work. And I saw him, probably the most extraordinary person I ever sat around or was ever around, doing that kind of work on himself every single day. And there was never a reason why he wouldn't do it. I mean, he had his mother was there, and she, Ray was wonderful, but not easy. And, you know, and he had to navigate that. He had to navigate students and all their problems and things that went wrong, craziness in life, running a business, having ashrams to go to. He had to navigate everything and use it as a means of growing inside himself, using this double breathing exercise to explore his inner world in such depth that it got him into a transcendental state of consciousness. He became a true servant of God. And he once told me, he said, Stuart, you never serve people. You never know from day to day what's going to happen with people. The only permanence in life is God, spirit, higher energy. It's a permanent state of nourishment if you do your inner work and you open inside and build a system that enables you to do it, to connect with that kind of energy and allow it to truly build you and get you closer to your spiritual enlightenment. Rudi's being, he was born to do that. He was born to do that. And he was born to give unconditionally to people that truly wanted to have a spiritual life. There were no conditions. You came, and he was a vehicle through which this energy was transmitted, energy that nurtured each and every person that came into his life, and each and every one of them in a different way, in their own unique way. And the whole secret in all of this is taking advantage of it, using it, growing because of it, allowing it to truly change one's life, change my life. My meeting with Rudi, I did a 180-degree change in my life from the day I met him, and I had no choice in the matter because I saw before me the person I had been looking for 10 years, 9 years. I'd been looking for him. Went all over Europe and Africa, and always on my way to India, looking for somebody who could do this for me. Because I knew at that point in my life, I was incapable of doing it for myself. I needed somebody to teach me how to do this. And the day I walked into his store and I saw him and met him, I said to this friend of mine, I don't know what happened in there, but I've got to go see this person again. I said, I don't know what happened. Like something completely changed inside me. That is the miracle of what it means to have a teacher. That's the miracle of what it means for me to be sitting here with all of you. And your presence is a very remarkable teacher for me. It really makes me go to a place inside myself that I wouldn't ordinarily go to tap energy that is very deep, that is connected to what's infinite in the universe. And in the process of doing that, building a chakra system that will enable me to become one with higher energy in the universe. I knew about this before I met Rudi. I never saw anybody do it. I had met swamis and rishis and yogis and God knows people I met chanted, and I used to manufacture my own mantras. This was pre-Rudi. And I was still not getting it. But sitting with him, being with him, I had to keep my mouth shut. And even better than that, I had to keep my mind shut. And I had to open and take in this vast amount of energy that he was transmitting. This goodness, this kindness. But the kindness and goodness came out of fire that was burning all his karma. It was burning everything inside him. This is available to each and every one of us. And it's not complicated. It's not, arcane and involved in all the metaphysical principles, and it's very simple. It's use of mind, use of breath, use of this exercise that Rudi developed. It came out of his Hindu studies, his Buddhist studies, going to India and being with different swamis and teachers. And it became like sacred. I mean, life became sacred for me. Whereas pre-Rudi, life was like, I can't tell you, I was like living in a sanitarium. It was like a lunatic asylum, the way my life was pre-Rudi. They say when a student is ready, the teacher will be there. And it is so true. It is so true. Then it's what you do with that teaching, how you grow with it, how you use it, how you benefit from this moment that has taken place in one's life that gives them the opportunity to learn how to build a connection with higher energy in the universe, God, whatever one wants to call it. I mean, for Rudi, literally every day was a birthday. And I believe that also. It's not just to celebrate one day out of a year. Every single day of one's life is a birthday. We're born. What do we do with that day? How do we grow in that day? How do we build a system inside ourselves that truly can be connected to higher energy, God? And how can we use this to learn how to be in this world, live in this world, enjoy this world, be happy in this world, and at the same time to be free of it all? That is probably one of the most extraordinary things I learned from Rudi. How to live here and to be free of everything that manifests while I live here. Because I learned to build a system inside that was strong enough to do it. It's not magic, although sometimes it feels very magical. It's not anything like that. It's simply the application of mind and breath and will and need, using them to develop one's inner life and to grow closer to God. We're all children of God, and how easily we forget it. The world, the presence, being around Rudi, I never forgot that. And I knew he represented to me, a goal. I would sit with him and I would say, Stuart, you have a lot of work to do on this. Instead of being intimidated by his energy and his power and who he was, it just reminded me I had a lot of work to do on myself. And I said, I have to do it. Whatever it costs me, I have to do that work. And never assume I've ever arrived. Because the moment you assume you've arrived, you understand the growth is just over with. We're dealing with infinite energy in the universe. The growth is, every day of our lives to the day we leave the world. I mean, Rudi's final words were a deeper sense of surrender. It was his final words. And every day I was with him, I saw that deeper sense of surrender. And you were welcome. You were welcome to sit with him, to learn from him, to grow because of what he was teaching you. And it wasn't easy, because in order to do it, I had to overcome myself. He was reminding me what kind of a schmuck I was and how much work I had to do on myself in order to grow and become connected with this higher force of energy in the universe. And instead of resenting that, instead, I was so grateful to have this human being in my life. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I mean, he certainly used to bust my chops a lot. And I certainly found myself doing all kinds of work that I never dreamed I'd ever have to do, you know? But doing it, saying, thank you, thank you. You gave me my life. What more can I ask for? So it's not just Rudi's birthday. It's building a system inside, that is strong enough to allow every single day of the year to be one's birthday. And I couldn't think of a more amazing way to live. And I wouldn't even be able to say these words if I hadn't spent 6 years with Rudi. To the moment he died, I was with him 6 years. So I hope this all kind of rings true with you all, and you can stop thinking about it and daydreaming about it and trying to figure it out. And you're just going to make yourself crazy. Just use the exercise, absorb the Shakti, grow, learn from it. And what I hope and pray is that someday every one of you can pass this on to somebody else, can teach the kind of things Rudi taught and that I teach now, and give birth to not only yourself, but to other people. So happy Rudi's birthday. I mean, he's here, you understand? He's in every class that we have. His presence is very powerful. It's here. It's how the energy is transmitted, the Shakti is transmitted in these classes. And I was with him, the moment he left the world. I never felt he was gone, ever felt that he was gone. Has been present in my life. When I was 6 years old, and this is true, I'm not making this up, I used to lie in bed. 6 years old, I would lie in bed and I'd hear this word, Rudi, Rudi, repeating itself over and over again in my head. Rudi, Rudi. 19 years later, I met him. So there are no accidents. Your being here is not an accident. My being here is not an accident. So God bless you all. We'll have a meditation and try to really open your hearts. Try to feel Rudi very deep in your heart. He's there to serve each and every one of us. He's there to give us the Shakti, the energy, the power to build a system inside that will connect us to God, to higher energy, that will free us from all this karmic stuff that people live through every day. As I say, the soul is born here basically to learn how to transform suffering into joy and to love. Once the soul manages to do that, it's free. It has worked through its karma. And Rudi was free. I mean, my God, he had the sparkle in him the last days of his life. He was like an infant just born. That's, please, you got to sit still, please. He had a sparkle in him, and he was just like an infant. The day he left the world, he was like the day he entered the world. Okay, we'll have a meditation. And if anyone has a question afterwards, I'll be happy to try and answer it. Does anyone have a question?
Stuart, Bob Sink, I have a question.
Yes, Bob?
Earlier, you spoke about every day should be your birthday. What do you mean by that?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but I mean, every day we get up in the morning and we greet the day. The day is sacred. Everything we learn in that day is sacred. Everything that we become in that day and do in that day is sacred. Every day is a rebirth. Should bring a little bit more consciousness, a deeper element of self, that we're working on, a deeper level of surrender. I mean, every day. I mean, every day that we are alive is a miracle. And we so easily take it for granted. We just assume that time is forever, and it's not. We're born, we live, and we leave. And in the time between birth and the time we leave here, every minute, every day is sacred, is a treasure. It's something really important that we're gifted with, time. And we have to learn to use it consciously. We have to literally give birth to ourselves every single day. Now, this is not easy to do. It means overcoming so many blocks in us, a human being, so many habits and so many routines that we live with. And, that it takes time. It takes time. You have to marinate. You marinate a piece of beef to get it soft enough to eat. We have to marinate ourselves in spiritual energy over time. And then it becomes clear how the day is sacred. Every moment is sacred. And we don't think about it. We don't get upset that we missed that moment, but we just evolve into it. Our life becomes that. And that to me is extraordinary that we don't think about it. We don't analyze it. We don't have to get, definitions of it. We live that way. We have built a chakra system inside ourselves that enables us to live that. Nature is that way. I mean, nature doesn't think about tomorrow. It just is. It is. And human beings create all of these blocks and ideas, and and we stumble over them. They keep us from being. And when I talk about every day being a birthday, every day is treasure. It's a gift. It's an incredible gift to us as human beings. We're here and we're born on this planet in order to learn how to transform karma, suffering, difficulty into a spiritual life. And not as something we just talk about, but as something we do. It becomes an organic part of our existence, this transformation of everything into a spiritual life. And what does that mean? It means whatever you do, the food you eat, the people you love, the job you have, everything becomes sacred. You see everything in a different way. So you don't have to start looking for a new way to be sacred, life itself is sacred. The problem is people don't see it that way. It's always something negative and this and wrong and, I hope it's clear what I'm talking about. It certainly is clear, but it's something if you start trying to analyze it, you're going to come up empty. But if you start really developing the chakra system, you'll come up full life. You will be full of the sacredness of life every day. But it's like even in Alice in Wonderland, I think the Mad Hatter says, instead of celebrating birthdays, we should celebrate unbirthdays. We have one birthday a year and 364 unbirthdays. Those unbirthdays, yeah, God knows what takes place. And frankly, I can't define this. I don't even know what I mean by this. All I know is that if that inner life is developed, you just evolve into it. You just live that way. I mean, Rudi lived that way. And I remember when I first met him, it was astonishing to me to meet somebody who actually lived that way. Who, his very presence, when I was around him, literally had transformed New York into a temple. New York City, probably one of the most difficult places on the earth to live. Rudi transformed it into a temple. The world around him became sacred because he became a child of God. And every day he gave birth to himself. Amazing thing to learn and to be around. I'm just so grateful that for whatever reason, karma brought me there. Trying to transmit that to all of you. And there'll always be problems, but it doesn't matter. You deal with them and they don't throw you a balance. They don't get you upset. You don't get all blah, 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 and, wasting all you just do it. You take care of it, whatever the problems are. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Bob. I won't even ask if this is clear. You can't understand what I'm talking. I don't understand what I'm talking about, but I slowly learned how to live it. And it's made my life really interesting and wonderful. Does anyone else have a question you'd like to? I mean, this week, Bob gifted all of us that documentary of Rudi. I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, you can watch that and you'll see what I'm talking about. Total commitment to his spiritual life. At the same time, there was always a smile on his face and he laughed and he had fun and he was the Kundalini cowboy. And it was a riot to be around him. It really was. He was funny. I mean, I remember once we were driving up to Big Indian and the car broke down in front of a pizza parlor. And Rudi was he was fasting, and he looked out of the front window and he said, "Oh, it must be God's will." And he went and had a slice of pizza to break the fast. You know, I mean, this was Rudi. You never know what was going to come. I mean, it was just fun, and it was a joy, and it was hard. I mean, it wasn't easy for me to be around him because he was constantly reminding me how much I had to grow and how much resistance I had. And I used to say to myself, Stuart, who else in the world is going to do this for you? Nobody. So with all the times I thought about running away, where am I going to go? Where am I going to find anybody like this who's willing to do this for me? I mean, there are great stories about him and fun, and he was an extraordinary being. And at the same time, I mean, you look at that documentary and you'll see how committed he was, not only to his own spiritual life, but passing that Shakti on to his students, the people that were there studying with. So it's a blessing. And just to finish this up, Rudi developed the meditation exercise that we do. That to me is something extraordinary. That he actually developed this, yeah, I'm sure they did exercises like this 100,000 years ago. But what we do today, the use of the mind and the breath, I never met another teacher. In fact, when Muktananda was in the United States, it so freaked him out. This energy was so strong, he made Rudi stop it. Is it true? And for like 3 or 4 months, I mean, we worked, we went to the meditation hall and we would sit with our eyes closed and meditate until one day Rudi said, "It's enough." Said, "It's enough. We have to go back to the double breathing exercise." We had that for 3 or 4 months, I remember. He would ask me to teach the class, and I used to wear this robe that Muktananda gave me, and I would sit there, and I couldn't do the eye-to-eye meditation. So I would just sit there. I had no idea what I was doing there, but I would just sit there. And I was supposed to be transmitting Shakti. And then one day he said, "It's enough." He said, "This exercise works too well." And there was this huge sigh of relief in the meditation group. Everybody said, "Thank God." Does anyone else have a question? He passed my life on to me, Rudi. I was in that airplane with him. When we hit a mountain, I was holding his hand. And his soul force came. It's the only reason I survived. And I have a job to do, and that is to transmit the Shakti, this energy. And out of sheer gratitude to Rudi, to Nityananda, to the teachers that have given me my life, out of sheer gratitude. So God bless you all, and thank you. And thank you for being in my life, sharing this moment with me. And as I tell you all the time, my teacher, I come here and you extract from me these things that I don't even think about all day. They just this class. And I'm so grateful to be able to do it, to be able to be used by God this way, the same way God used Rudi this way. I remember Muktananda sitting there giving a lecture, and he said, "If you worship the Guru, you will get your enlightenment. The guru is God. And Rudi's sitting behind me and he whispers in my ear, he said, God is God. The best that a guru can be is the servant of God and a servant of his students or her students. It's the best. One of the greatest things I ever learned in my life is you can't do this without humility and gratitude and recognizing that every moment is a sacred moment in one's life. So bless you all on Rudi's birthday. I will tell you that the hardest month out of the year for me is always between Rudi's birthday and Rudi's Samadhi. So if things get really intense in your life, don't get worried. Just relax. Let it work on you. I mean, I felt my ass dragging today, boy. So it started. Let it work on you. Let it help you to grow. And just keeping my mouth shut and staying quiet and enable this class to happen. Otherwise, man. So God bless you all. There'll be a meditation tomorrow evening, and I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Beautiful class. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, everybody. Good night.